but it might require some story.
It is true.
But I'd like to learn more about your personal life, that when did you get on this path, and how did you get to wherever you are? What it took you to there?
Oh, you want to hear that? It might be helpful, actually, because it might be helpful. If we wind the clock back to about 1987, can you imagine? Some of you can't imagine. 1987, I'm working as an artist, making stained glass and painting pictures and so on. That's what I loved at the time. I still like it, but then I loved it. And so it was a passion for me, painting, drawing, exhibiting my work and so on. Also, I worked for some times on the streets in London, making portraits of tourists. Maybe one of you might be here, I don't know. In those days, you see. But I started working and exhibiting my work. And I was asked to help to put on an exhibition called 5 Jamaican Artists at the time. And this I was helping to put on. When I returned home one evening, my partner at the time, she said, somebody came earlier today. They saw the stained glass in the window, and they said, who made that glass? Because it was clearly a modern piece. And she says, my boyfriend made it, but he's not here right now. And this person said, I would like to meet him because I myself am making stained glass. So that was the first message I got when I got home. I said, okay, fine, that's good. And I ate my dinner and then knocked on the door, and this young man showed up. Hi, how are you? Hey, you came earlier, nice to meet you. Please come in. And we started just to talk. But quickly, in the space of maybe 4 or 5 exchange of sentences, he told me, I'm a practicing Christian. I live just near to your house. And in fact, my house where I live, we use as a church, actually. And so that's my life, I can say. But I also make paintings and stained glass and so on. So I was curious. I'm making an exhibition, Afro-Caribbean artist. He was an Afro-Caribbean man. And okay, fine. Would you like to participate? Now, he was not so keen to participate, but he was more like he wanted to be with me. He wanted to meet me. So much interest in being with me. And so we talked, and I found it very, very comfortable to talk with him. I felt I asked some questions, spiritual questions came up very easily, and I spoke with him, and he addressed my views and my doubts and so on to satisfy me. I don't remember exactly what those were, but we talked, and I liked talking with him. And that was it. If I'm putting it in the shortest way, then I would say that I would reflect on what we talked about at the time, and whenever I felt I would like to see him, he would just show up. That is. I didn't make an appointment. He didn't have a phone. I don't have a phone. I would just think, yeah, I'd like to see Michael. And he would just pop on the door. Hi, how are you? I said, whoa, look at this. And again, we'd keep our conversations going. And that went on for about maybe 2 months or so. I'm not sure about that, but for some time we kept seeing each other and talking. And it came one Sunday, he came again, and we were like 4 people in the house, 1 friend of his, and my partner, myself, and himself. We'd finished talking. It was so enriching, the experience of sharing with him, that as he was about to leave, I said to him, Michael, when you pray again, could you pray for me? I asked like that. And he said, yes, but why not right now? I said, okay. So we stood up, and he stood up next to me, put his hand on my head, and prayed. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I just was there. Then as he finished praying, myself also, I said, please help me, help me to come more deeply into this understanding. I offer my heart and like this. And then we finished. Felt very good. Had a hug at the door. Bye, Michael. Bye, David. And they left. Closed the door. I felt so good. I felt very happy, very light. Just, that was it. The most complete meeting, satisfied. I felt so, and I kept on feeling unusually light and happy. It was so good. I didn't want this evening and this feeling to go away. I stayed up very, very late. And then somehow sleep came. I didn't want sleep to come. I felt if I fell asleep, I would wake up, it would be finished. But I woke up the next morning and it was still there, the feeling in my body, tingling, very sensitive, and noticing the sunlight coming through the opening in the curtains, and it was like looking like I'd never seen the sun before, this type of feeling. As though some sensitivity in me had been turned up very high, and I felt marvelously happy. After another day of this, a deep peace came inside my heart, and that has never gone away. It has never gone away. Many things happened from that period until now. Many things happened, but this peace has never gone away. The sense of myself, my egoic tendencies and behaviors continued for a little bit, because it didn't just disappear. I was still making mistakes, but I was so in my heart dedicated to truth. I felt that's the only thing that mattered now. All my other interests began to fall away, because the feeling inside was so compelling, so beautiful, so rich, so complete. I wanted to offer my life. I said, please take it, take my life, take it in exchange for this. Give me more of this. I want more of this. You take my ugly bits and leave just the beautiful things. It was like that. But it doesn't work like that. Gradually, things begin to change, and more it's going out like that. And okay.
So that brings another question in my mind when you were talking, that can you give us some those short practices which you have been doing since then, which has uplifted you and brought you to this level? What are those practices, and can you give us some tips on that?
I was going to explain something that is much more fantastic than a practice. It was the next part of my story. I am trying to make it as simple as possible because you asked me. You see? And so what happened is that after some point, I was never reading books. I don't read many books. If you saw me with a book, it's because it had pictures in it. I like pictures, no? But writing, no. And so I did not have much reading background. But having met Michael, I read the entire Bible by myself again from start to finish. I was hungry for some kind of knowledge of what was happening to me. And finally, I went to one bookshop and I found a book. The first one was on Ramana Maharishi, but I could not understand his words. They were on self-inquiry, and it felt very alien to me. But I found another book called The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And I was attracted to it because it said gospel. And that reminded me more of like Christian gospel, so I didn't feel I was going too far away. And I loved Ramakrishna. I discovered I loved Ramakrishna. He helped a lot to explain what was happening inside my heart. And so some while later, I was called to do some work for one of my elder sister. I made some decoration in her house, and she gave me the largest sum of money I'd ever experienced, like £3,500. I never had that kind of money in my hand. And within 2 weeks, I was on a plane to India. Yeah, knew nothing about India. I arrived in Delhi with no Lonely Planet guide or nothing like that. I just arrived in Delhi, and in Delhi for about 7 days. And then in Delhi, in this little guest house, I saw it says coach rides to Rishikesh. I'd heard this name, Rishikesh. I said, I'll go for one weekend. So I packed a small bag and left all my luggage in the hotel, and I took a bus, came to Rishikesh, and came off at Laxmanjula, up there, up at the top. And I came here, and then I never went back for my bags in Delhi for 6 months. So I came here and like this, came to Rishikesh. Then one day coming up from the Ganga, some people, the place at Laxmanjula where there's no cars anymore there. It's just as far as you can go at the top. And at those days, cars could come. One car was stopped there. I was walking with some local friends, and some people were in the car asking for directions. And while they was talking to the driver, Indian driver, some Europeans in the back seat looked out towards me and says, "Hey, I remember you," like this. And I was new in India. He says, "Me? No, you don't know me." And then, "Yeah, I remember you." And then the woman looked out and she goes, "Ah, it's you, I remember you." I was saying, no, you don't remember me, like this, no? Then the driver, Indian driver, says, yeah, I know him. I said, "What is this? What is this?" "No, I don't know these people." And then I said, no, maybe somebody looked like me, beard. And then they left and laughing, and they left. They ride back up. When I walked up to my hotel, they were getting off at my hotel, unpacking. So again we met, and they said, "Please, you must have dinner with us." I had dinner with them, and they told me, "Our Guruji is strongly associated with this region. His name is Sri Punja, Papaji." I never heard of any Papaji. They said, "Please come and have a meal with us." So we had a meal. They showed me Papaji's book called Wake Up and Roar. But I was just polite, saying, "Oh, it's very nice, very nice." But I didn't feel anything. The next morning they're leaving. They said they only came for a day. Next morning they're leaving. The driver was also a devotee of Papaji. I mistook him for just taxi driver. They were all going back. They insisted that I come back with them to Lucknow. I said, no, I wanted to go to Varanasi first. And they pleaded. I don't know why they were so insisting on me. But they went, and I felt I need to go to Varanasi first. But as soon as they left, I felt I needed to leave Rishikesh. I went to Varanasi for 10 days, and I arrived in Lucknow 10 days later. I met Papaji for the first time. And I met Papaji. I spent several months with him. One day in satsang, I wrote a letter to him to introduce myself. I felt I had come to some experiences spiritually, and I wanted to share with him. He called me up in satsang, and I went up to sit in front of him, and he murdered me basically. And that was short of it. He was talking with me, and a strong, fierce resistance was coming up inside my heart. Like, who are you speaking? You don't know me, and blah, 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 and look at you, like this, because I felt like he caught something inside me that was something very unpleasant, that I could not see myself. But by the power of his grace, something was caught in his light. And he was talking, and he said, "If you wish to know the truth, you must vanish." So what kind of instruction is that? How do you vanish? You can't vanish. And there was all this resistance. The resistance inside was coming up so loud that I could not physically hear him. I was looking at him talk. Inside, I was like that. So it was not a pleasant experience for me. And at the end of satsang, I just decided I'm leaving Lucknow. It was more like bad luck now. I didn't feel like it was luck now. And I went home, started to pack my bags. I'm going. That was the sign I was waiting for. I'd spent enough time, wasted enough time. I'm leaving. Furious. But it was a very hot day, and I decided to go to get some fresh air. I was like, inside my body was like frying 10 sausages or something. I was just, oh, shh. I went for a walk. I sat in the village for a while, and then I decided to go home and pack my clothes. And as I walked for about 10 meters, suddenly everything disappeared. Everything disappeared. What do I mean by everything disappeared? Including myself. Now, it's a funny thing to say that because I was still here. But the idea I had of myself, my history, who I think I am, I could not find anything of my person. It was amazing. There was just space, like space. I could see the traffic on the road. I could see everything. It's like they were moving in some kind of slow motion or something. And I was looking at my hand. I kept looking at the hand. And it was like there was nobody in them. Like there was nobody in this body. But there was something was here to see that. I wonder what that is. You might find out. What was there to witness the absence of myself? Myself being who I think I am. My story, my history, my relationships, my values in life, my desires for future, nothing was there at all. And then in this vast space of beingness, the Master's face came to me. And it was so amazing. I realized in that moment I'd met my Master. Who I was to say that I can't tell you. And that was the second great blast of a kind of awakening in this body that took place. And then of course I did not leave. I unpacked my bag and I stayed on with Papaji for some time until a feeling came to go to Tiruvannamalai in the south of India, where Ramana Maharshi lived for some time, and that's it. That's all I need to tell you. Okay?